Good afternoon and welcome to the Google for Education live webinar on the emerging trends in education. Today, we're continuing our conversation on innovating pedagogy. On the call today, you have me, Victoria Victor, and Beatrice Miller, who is a grade 6 teacher at Wynberg Girls Junior School, South Africa. Of course, you're going to hear from her later on in the session. We also have the content developers, Katie Oka, who is helping out backstage, and Karen Wallstra. As usual, Barbara Brand will be on the chat, so be sure to say hi, leave your comments, leave your opinions. We will surely love to hear from you. As I mentioned, my name is Victoria Victor. I am the ICT teacher at Hope Spring Foundation School. My Google journey started out in 2020 during the COVID-19 pandemic outbreak. And it required that every one of us go back home. Everywhere was on lockdown. But as a school, we wanted to keep engaging with our learners. And so we started out with using Google Classroom to communicate, collaborate, and also connect with teachers and learners. And so with that, we're able to have access to amazing tools, and we're able to have meetings with Google Meet and also protect our school data. So Google Workspace for Education has been really phenomenal in our use at Hope Spring Foundation School. Before we get started, we would like to thank our partners for helping to make this session today possible. Thank you once again, Open Networks. Thank you, Snamplify Education and MKB Consulting for helping to bring the session to teachers across Africa. Today's session is the 9th session in a 10-part series that is focusing on the 8 emerging trends in education. Yes, you heard me right. But not to worry, although we're nearing the end of the series, unfortunately, you still have 2 jam-packed and exciting sessions before we say our final goodbye. We have already looked at digital responsibility, life skills and workforce preparation, computational thinking, student-led learning, and how to connect with guardians and schools. Today, we are continuing our conversation on innovating pedagogy. If you missed the first session on this last week, then be sure to watch it from the Teach From Anywhere website that Barbara will add to the chat. You're also able to rewatch or catch up on any of the sessions you may have missed from this website too. Okay, so let's take some time to do some reminiscing. Okay, I would like you to think back to when you first started out as a teacher. For me, it granted me the opportunity and the possibilities of impacting and changing the world by educating the next generation. What was it like for you? Leave it in the chat. So while this is still the case for myself, and I believe whatever the case was for you, it still is, and you're still making a difference, we soon realized the reality is that the load of work that comes with teaching is overwhelming. From planning your lessons to managing your class, organizing your learners, and grading and marking is overwhelming. And so our lives look a little more like this animation on the screen. With so much to do and only so few hours in our days, what we end up doing is attempting to juggle up a lot of tasks we have to complete. And so I'm sure you can share in this feeling as well. Quite often, the best way to understand what our lives are actually like is to look at a few memes. For example, this one. In the words of Beyonce, if you wanted a grade, you should have put your name on it. I'm sure we have all got those learners who forget this valuable piece of information, and we can relate to the extra admin that it adds to our already jam-packed lives. Did you know that being a teacher is a lot more like being a rock star? If you did, say yes in the chat. Sometimes it is important to notice the similarities. Yes, they are very similar. And so let's take a look at how similar they are. Okay, you need to work hard in order to keep the attention of a distracted crowd. Your fans go crazy when they see you in public. Your learners in this case, I can totally relate to this. And then groupies line up to follow us, our learners in this case, for example, when going out for break. Okay, everyone, can we all line up behind the teacher? This I can totally relate. And then you hear your name being called out all the time. I can totally relate. How about you? If you do, leave that in the chat. Okay. So while being these teaching superstars and trying to cope with the load of work that comes with being a teacher, it is important but often quite hard to find a balance between our work and our personal lives. Finding ways to manage these two aspects of our lives is vital to our mental well-being. So today's session will focus on the ways that you can use the Google tools to help you streamline and organize the load so that it looks more like what we have on this slide rather than what we had in the other slide. So at this point, I'm going to hand over to Beatrice, who is going to take us through the first part of the session and look at the amazing ways in which we can streamline communication and feedback. Over to you, Beatrice.
Thank you, Victoria. What a lovely introduction to the session. I really liked being compared to a rock star. I know I'm excited to share some of the features that help us streamline our load. As Victoria mentioned, I'm Beatrice Miller and I teach at a school in Cape Town. And prior to teaching at Wynberg Girls Primary School, I worked in South Korea for 2.5 years, and my knowledge of Google was limited to Gmail and Google Drive. And then I came back to South Africa and worked at a school that was totally into Google and used all the Google features and tools, and my world was completely opened, and I found how Google just helps make lesson planning so much easier, and how it's just easier to create awesome lessons, and how you can just create lessons that engage the learners and take them on journeys without physically leaving the classroom. So as teachers, we know how important communication and feedback is to our learners. However, we also know what we need to get done in a day, and we often don't have time for this communication to take place. I'm going to take you through some helpful features of Google Classroom that will help streamline both general communication with your learners and feedback on their assignments. We need to encourage our learners to communicate with each other and with us. It is fundamental to their understanding of content being taught, and is also helpful to know when they need extra help immediately, rather than after they've completed their first assignment. Why do we encourage communication in our classrooms? Because communication in your classroom has many benefits, and we're going to look at these features that focus on 4 main benefits. Firstly, helping with peer learning. Learners can help each other with understanding content and assignments through peer learning. Increase understanding of the content by asking and answering questions. They can increase their knowledge and understanding of a topic. Encourage responsibility. If we encourage learners to ask each other questions, we can help them take responsibility for their learning and the work that's been set, while learning valuable skills in the process. And improve communication skills. Communicating between each other as a class will also help improve learners' overall communication skills. Communicating effectively in a digital environment. We teach our learners how to be good citizens within the world when they encounter people in person. However, now in a continually evolving digital world, we also need to teach them the skills needed for online citizenship. This is such an important skill that we need to include, that we've covered in depth in our first session. So if you want to know more, be sure to watch the digital citizenship session with Lorata and Joseph from the link that Barbara will pop into the chat. Google Classroom. Honestly, Google Classroom just excites me because there's so many awesome features that anyone that's used Google Classroom before has their favorite, I'm sure of it. So some of these features are perfect to help teach our learners these much needed digital citizenship skills. There's the Google Stream. So on the stream, this can be effective for learners to understand how to engage with each other in a less formal space. Here you can encourage them to ask their peers questions relating to the content for everyone in class to see. There's class comments, and these can be found in any of the posts that you add to the classroom work tab. This is a great place for you to add specific comments for learners or questions relating to the content for everyone in the class to see. Private comments. There's always room for improvement, and you might not want to share this with the whole class. So this is a perfect way to communicate with individual learners on work that you've set for them. Here you can ask a question without everyone seeing it, and you're able to give feedback directly to that learner. And only the classroom teaches and that learner can see these comments. And of course, the most important as well is feedback. You can provide feedback on the work that you've set for the learners, and this feedback can be in the form of a private comment after you've marked the assignment, or as live comments, suggestions, and tips on the document that they are busy with while they're working. So let's take a look at these forms of communication in more detail before seeing them live in action on Google Classroom. The stream. The stream is a safe place and secure place for you to encourage your learners to improve their communication skills. Encouraging your learners to use the stream effectively can help increase the collaboration in the classroom. Learners should feel like this is a space where they can speak openly, they can ask each other questions, help others, and participate in discussions around various topics. This means learners are engaged and they are taking responsibility for their own learning. This is a space to help each other find answers. With this collaboration comes a sense of helpfulness. If a learner knows to ask on the stream and try to get help from others before coming to you, this will empower them to help those around them, building confidence for others to voice their opinions and ideas. We can help our learners with communication skills and improve them and how to teach them to communicate effectively online. With the ability as a teacher to mute a learner and delta their comments, we can help them realize how to effectively use this communication space in a positive way. Learners can take responsibility for their own learning, and this is what you want. You want to encourage learners to be responsible and to take charge of their learning. As our learners become used to asking questions for help, they learn to take responsibility for their learning. They can choose to help others and better their understanding, or they can choose to not engage, but the responsibility and the choice remains up to them and creates a collaborative and inclusive environment. And as they work through questions posed by their classmates, our learners will begin to think about the topics being discussed. They start to research ideas, plan out new solutions, all the while helping others around them. Our learners will not automatically know how to use the stream effectively for constructive class discussions rather than just chatter. So we will need to guide them through how to best do this. In our session on collaborative classrooms, we spoke about an activity called 3 Before Me, where you encourage your learners to ask 3 other classmates for help before coming to you. With the use of the stream in our Google Classrooms, we can help encourage learners to complete this activity when they need help. We also are able to monitor the stream and see who engages with the learning and who needs help. Incentives are also a good way to encourage learners to participate and to voice their opinions. And so you can encourage them with positivity. You can use stickers, badges, or certificates to help them understand how to use the stream effectively. Positivity is often more effective than negativity. So reward them for using the stream correctly rather than being negative when your class uses it ineffectively. So let's have a look at where in Google Classroom we can communicate with our learners. So I've got Google Classroom opened up already, but alternatively, you could go to the waffle over here and scroll through Google Apps and go down to the Classroom app over here, and it would automatically open up to the stream. Alternatively, you could type in classroom.google.com and it will open up to Google Classroom automatically. We already have a classroom set up here that is fully active, and we've got some posts from our students and we have comments as well. So if you would like to post a comment or an announcement to your learners, let's just refresh the screen again so that you could see. You would go to announce something to your class, and here you can post a message to your learners. Welcome back to term 3. Here's what we will be doing today. And then you could attach a document from Google Drive where you could give them a list of tasks that they need to complete. There is an option to include a link or a file from your computer. You could also include a YouTube video. This is so awesome, as you could post this and it would go through to all your learners in this classroom. You could also post an announcement across different classrooms, or you could select one learner to send it through to. And once you've selected who you would like to send the post to, you simply click post and it will automatically be posted for all your learners to see, and they will be able to comment on it if they need some clarity. You could also scroll down and see if the learners are on task and if they are only posting information that is relevant to what you've been doing. And here I see that there's a learner that's asking about weekend plans, and which is irrelevant. So you could go to the 3 dots over here and you could mute the learner. And this way, when you mute the learner, they're still able to access Google Classroom. However, they will get a notification saying that they've been muted. And then this will allow you to have a discussion about inappropriate comments with your learners and discuss how the importance of online and digital citizenship and how to use this space effectively. And once you feel like this learner is aware of what they've done and they've corrected the behavior, then you can unmute the learner, and then they are able to respond and comment and post again. And then, of course, if you just want it gone for good, you could just select delete and it will delete the post completely. If you would like to post comments on specific work, you could go to classwork over here, which is the classwork tab. And here you've got all the assignments that you've created. And you could simply click on an assignment where you would like to post a comment to. Once you click on an assignment, it will open up to the student work tab. But firstly, we would like to post a class comment. So we'd go over to the instructions tab. And here you can post a comment to the class related to the assignment that you've set. So I could post here, remember to watch the videos before completing your assignment, your essay. And this way, this will be sent to all the learners and specifically relating to this activity. And you just click on the arrow here and this will be posted to the class. If you would like to send a private comment, or if you would like to see if a learner has sent you a private comment, then you would go to student work over here. And if you look at all the learners that you've assigned work to, there would be, as we can see in Joanne's case here, we can see that she sent a message. So I'm going to open up Joanne's work. And if I scroll down, I see that she has posted and she sent me a private comment that only I can see, or the teachers in the group can see. And she said, I'm not really sure what I need to do to complete this assignment. Could you please help? And then you could just respond, yes, sure, come see me later. And then you click on the arrow, and again, it will be sent directly to her. So this is really awesome, as it streamlines the communication and it allows you to communicate effectively with the learner, either relating to specific content that you're busy with, or specific assignments, or just general announcements that you would like to update your class on. So feedback on assignments is one of the most important ways to help our learners learn from past work. However, this can often take time, as we only have the capacity to give it at the end, once the learners have submitted the assignment and we've marked it. And often this feedback is not really valuable for learners, as they just want to see their mark and they're kind of over discussing the assignment. So would it not be useful to integrate this awesome communication tools that we've just spoken about, and now integrate the feedback part of Google Classroom? So would it be useful to comment and provide feedback to learners while they're working on a task, while they're sitting in the classroom or working from home? With some amazing features in Google Classroom, this can help us streamline the feedback process and give live feedback while they're working on a task. So you can communicate with your learners in a private and in a public way, the public way being class comments, as mentioned before, and private comment, as I've just demonstrated. As soon as you post an assignment to your learners, you have access to their work, meaning you can see their progress as they are working on a task. This is a fantastic feature, as it allows us to engage with learners as they work. You're automatically given commenting rights to this assignment, meaning you can make text suggestions for them or leave comments on work that they've done so far. This is a really useful place to help your learners master their time management skills. If you notice that a learner has not yet started an assignment when the due date is fast approaching, you can leave them a comment to encourage them to start, or to give them some motivation so that they can get started with their assignment. Streamlining feedback with the comment bank. This is a really awesome tool, because as teachers, we know that there are comments that we use frequently. So maybe it's asking learners to show their working out, or to capitalize their letters at the beginning of the sentence, or just positive feedback on work that they've done and commentary on how amazing their work is. Whatever your standard and often used comment is, you are able to store them in the comment bank on the grading screen and easily pull them into a comment directly in the document, saving you from having to type it out every time you write. And I can just imagine how much time that would save you compared to having to write out a comment on a hard copy assignment, opposed to just pulling this through from the comment bank. So marking is time consuming, and this is what we are all so familiar with, and it's one of the things that I just wish wasn't as time consuming. But luckily with Google Classroom, this can happen online, on the classroom itself, giving you access to some useful features that can help streamline this task. We're now going to discuss the benefits of rubrics on the Google Classroom Markbook. So rubrics help save time when marking. They are a great way to help learners know exactly what they need to focus on a task or assignment. Giving a detailed description for each point value is the perfect way for them to ensure that they hand in the best work every time. This also makes marking easier for you, as you can easily see what marks your learners will be awarded simply by looking at which items they've included and what matches your marking score. So for example, if you're marking a bibliography in your learner's essay assignment and you specifically ask for more than one type of source and they've referenced according to a specific method and listed in the bibliography section, then you are easily able to see whether your learner will receive the full set of marks after quickly looking at the bibliography section of their assignment. So rubrics can be used for any age group. You just need to adapt it and set it so that your learners can understand the content. So you don't want to set something where your learners don't understand what they're being marked on. You need to make it accessible to your learners. So for your older learners, it's easy just to type a description for each mark allocation at a level that they understand. And for your foundation phase learners, the little ones, it's not as easy as writing out, but you could use emojis in their rubrics that will help them understand what you're looking for through images. And if you want to include images into your rubrics for young learners, then you would need to set up a rubric on Google Sheets or Google Docs and attach it to your assignment rather than using the built-in rubric in Classroom, which I will show you later in the presentation. So mark books are often tricky, and it's a tricky part of making your work effective, as you need to weight your marks according to the curriculum guidelines, and this often involves complex procedures and formulas or calculations. But within the Google Classroom settings, you are able to set up the weightings for your mark book and marks tab, and the marks will do the rest. Google Classroom will do the rest. At the end of the term, you're easily able to export this mark book to Google Sheets, allowing you to add all the marks to the relevant program to create your learners' reports. So now that I've discussed the feedback, let's have a look at it. So I'm going to go back to Google Classroom, and I'm going to show you how to set up an assignment and how to create a rubric and the mark book. So we're going to go to classwork over here, and let's have a look at an assignment that's already been created. So we're going to go back to classical music history, and we're going to view this assignment. Now, to view exactly what the assignment is about, you would go to instructions, and here you would have a clear layout of what you've required from your learners. And then to view the rubric, you would go to students' work, and you'd click on a student, Amira. And here I've got Amira's assignment open, and on the main screen in the middle, you would see her task that she is busy with. And then on the right over here, you can see a grading screen. And this is where you would mark Amira's assignment based on what she has done in her work and based on your rubric. So here I can see that I'm looking at content, I'm looking at her writing skills and reference. But if Amira is not entirely sure and would like to see the rubric in more detail, you can simply click on this icon here, which will allow you to open up the rubric. And this has the rubric completely laid out in full detail. So content and research is what we are assessing her on. And then there is a description of content and research with the criteria, writing skills with each criteria and the point value, and then reference with the criteria again and the point value. So Amira, all your learners have access to this as well, and so do you. But what's awesome with Google Classroom is that it pulls up the rubric on the right over here. So you could simply give her a mark and it would automatically pull through a total for you. And as you can see, the actual mark is out of 30, but the rubric is out of 12 marks. So what's really awesome with Google Classroom and the weighting system is that, okay, I wanted to give Amira 3 out of 4 for her content, her writing skills a 2, and her references. Okay, I see she's added 3 references. So I will give her 3 there as well, which pulls through as 8 out of 12, and it automatically converts the mark out of 30, which means no more calculating for you. It's all done for you automatically. Now, if you would like to add comments, the awesome tool that I've mentioned earlier is the comment bank. So here we've got the comment bank, and if there are comments that you frequently use, you want to add it to the comment bank. So one that I would often add would be please capitalize proper nouns. And then you add this here and it goes to your comment bank. One for positive feedback would be awesome work. And you would add it to your comment bank. And what would happen then is if you would like to provide a comment, you would just highlight the section that you would like to comment on, and you'd click on your comment icon and you would type. You would start typing awesome. And what's really awesome, besides it being actually awesome work, is that it pulls through the comment and you simply click from your comment bank and it automatically adds it to your assignment. So you could just create a list of comments and then just click in the first part, type in the first part of your comment and it will pull through. So this really saves a lot of time and really helps with streamlining the feedback process. So this is all here on the comment bank icon. You add in the list of comments and you simply just highlight the section that you would like to comment on and you can provide a comment. So we're going to go back to the grading screen over here, which is just above the comment. And what's also really cool, besides adding feedback to your assignment, is that you could post a private comment to the learner. So I can see that the learner has not completed her task, so you could send a private comment, just reminding your learner to complete their work. And again, this, you just click post, and this will be posted directly to the learner, and only she or he will have access to it. So this is great because you can motivate learners to, continue working. They're doing really well. You can provide feedback on how they're doing. And when you start working with it, it's really cool because you could simply just use these arrows at the top as well to just go onto the next learner's work and mark and comment on their work as well. Super awesome. Okay, to create an assignment, we would go back to our assignment page, which is here. And we're going to go, I'm going to go back to my home page. I'm going to go back to classwork. And here you can see the assignments that have already been created, but I'm going to create a new assignment. And I would like my learners to create a music brochure. And here you would add instructions for exactly what you would like your learners to do for the task. And again, you can add a link to a document in Google Drive. You could add an actual document from Google Drive that you would like them to work on. You can attach a link to a website. You can add a file from your computer and a video from YouTube. Super awesome. And you can select your due date here, what you would like the points to be out of, the topic that you would like it to be on. And here is where you can create your rubric that will automatically be attached to your assignment. So we're going to go to the rubric icon here, and we're going to create a rubric. So for your brochure, you would like your learners to focus on the structure. So here you'd have a description of what you would like, what are you looking for structure? And here you'd have your point system. So the maximum amount of points that they could get is 4, and that would be for an excellent structure. You can give them a description of what excellent would mean for you. And then you simply just click on the plus icon to add a level. The next one would be 3, and that would be good. And then 2, average, and 1, not achieved. Not achieved. All right. If you would like to add a second criteria, you could go to add a criterion over here. And again, you would put in the title and a description and the points value system as well. And when you are done setting all your marks and giving all the mark allocations, you would go to save. Okay, I'm not going to, it's not allowing me to save as I've added a second criteria. So let's go to, let's type in language. And I'm going to give them 4. And again, you put in a description of what you would like them to focus on for language. And then you'd go to save, and it would automatically save your rubric to the assignment. So this, again, allows your learners to access the rubric, and you will have access to the rubric, and it will show next to your learners' work on your grading screen. And once you are done setting up your assignment, you can assign it. There we go. And learners will have access to the task, and they can post comments if they don't understand and if they're struggling with content. And another awesome feature in Google Classroom is how you can weight your marks. And this you do by going back to your home screen, and you go to your setting icon over here. And this is where you can change your weighting of your marks. So you scroll down all the way to gradings, and in your case, there won't be any mark criteria here, but I'm going to remove these and add a mark allocation for English. So learners would be assessed on reading, and that may be 30% of their mark. On speaking, could be 50%. And what's really awesome is that it tells you what you have remaining. So you keep going until you left with 100% of the values being allocated, which really means that you don't have to calculate anything. Learners will be assessed on writing, which could be 10%, and on their language, which could also be another, there we go, 10%. What's really cool is when you're done with your ratings, you can save it. And when you need to allocate different tasks to a mark allocation, you would go back to classwork. And if I wanted to put my music task under a mark allocation, I would simply go to the 3 dots and edit. And here for category, I would include it with a category. Let's put under writing. And that would mean that the weighting would automatically be put in place. And then I would save as well. You can also open up your mark book. So you could go to grades over here, and here you'll have your different tasks as well that you could assign to a different grade category. So again, you go to edit and add it to a grade category, and this mark would automatically be converted to the weighting that you've given it to. And how to generate your markbook page is by going to classwork, clicking on a assignment, and going to the settings icon here, which would pull up your grade book. And then you could download your gradebook to Google Sheets, which I've already done over here. And here it opens up your markbook. And what happens is it doesn't automatically update your marks. So it's best to download this at the end of your marking period, or at the end of the term once all your marks are done, as it doesn't automatically update as you mark on Google Classroom. But these are just some awesome ways for you to integrate communication and feedback into your lesson planning and into your marking. So all of these are such wonderful features that help us streamline our lessons and our classroom communication. Feedback and marking are just a few reasons why I love Google Classroom. Just makes life so much easier. I'm now going to hand over to Victoria to take us through how we are able to automate assessments and grading. Over to you, Victoria.
All right. Thank you so much, Beatrice, for taking us through those features. It really is a phenomenal tool for our teaching and learning. Creating assessments that can grade themselves is every teacher's dream. Well, now it's not just because it's no longer a dream, but a reality. And so let's take a look at it. Google Forms is a lovely tool to use for various purposes in your classroom. We have looked at creating various types of forms in previous lessons, and so be sure to watch those sessions if you would like some ideas on how to use them. Today, we're going to look at the uses of forms in our classrooms as an assessment tool. Short forms. Short forms can be used throughout your lesson to gauge the knowledge and understanding of your learners. This will help you to know how to direct your teaching and where to adapt where necessary. Forms can be used throughout your lesson. And so the formative assessment forms that you use throughout your lesson should be short and set up to give immediate marks and feedback so that you and your learners can learn from them. Forms can be used at the beginning of a lesson. And this is a great way to understand what knowledge your learners already have. This will help to ensure that you teach the lesson building on this knowledge without presuming they already know it. Formative assessments can be run during the middle of your lesson. This means you are able to continually assess where your learners are in the content and be sure to identify areas that may need more explanation. At the end of the lesson, so you are able to send through your final form, okay? This will allow you to gauge the understanding of your learners' knowledge once the lesson has been completed. And so using this information effectively in your planning can help you to judge where to start the following lesson and possibly revise content that they may have low understanding of. You do not need to have all these forms for each lesson. This is important to note because you may want to use them on a chapter or topic basis rather than on each lesson. It's just important to plan out the point at which you want these forms to be sent in order to gain the most use of the information collected. Yes, it is human nature that when I ask a question in class and the first person who responds, for every other child who responds, the response will be based on what the first speaker said. It's human nature, totally understandable. But when you use form to get insight of your learners, it is a great way to get honest ideas and opinions from all the learners in your class. Engaging your learners at the beginning of a lesson or when you are introducing a new topic is a great way to learn more about your learners' understanding of that topic or subject. Okay, so while with forms, you can create different types of questions. The short answer questions, such as multiple choice, checkbox, short answer questions, are also a perfect way for short formative assessments that can be automatically marked. And so there's often a need for a long answer question. This is my favorite because with the long answer questions, it helps to build my learners' vocabulary skills, grammatical skills, punctuation skills, and research skills, which is really, really, really key for my learners. And so Google Forms offer a lot of benefits, and we're going to be looking at each of them. Firstly, you can set up forms to automatically grade and record the marks for each learner. You're also able to moderate answers that our learners may give before releasing their marks. While this is a manual marking process, it is a lot faster than marking each learner's answer for the entire assessment, as you are able to correct the marking in bulk. Sections can be used to set up a longer summative assessment, like a cycle test covering multiple topics. This is quite my favorite. With many options of question types available, you're also able to use forms for both summative and formative assessment. You can also use the summary page in the responses tab of our forms to help us see trends in our learners' knowledge and understanding. Now, using this graph in a class discussion about the trend is another really useful way to encourage learners to take responsibility for their learning and work on the areas that the class may need to work on. Now, let's open Google Forms and start looking at all these features and how to set them. Okay, so right here, I have a form that has already been created. It's the Geography Knowledge Quiz form. And so on this form, there are various types of questions. So the first question here is a checkbox question. And this is a short answer question. This is a multiple choice grid question and a paragraph question. On this form, you might also want to look at important settings you can set up on your form. And so by clicking on the settings icon here, this dialog box comes up. And so with your form, you can limit it to one response. That's having a learner respond to that form just once. And if that's the case, you can check this box. But if you want the learner to always go back to the form, more like to improve his or her knowledge, then you might want to leave that unchecked. And so you can also have learners edit their forms after submission by checking this box. Otherwise, you won't check it. You can also allow learners to see summary of everything they have responded to. This is a great way to let them know where they are at in the topic, in the subject, or in the chapter based on the questions that have been set. All right, so up next, we look at the presentation tab. This is a very useful tool to give your learners information as to what to do after submitting their forms. And so you can show progress bar, you can show link to submit another response, shuffle question order, and leave a confirmation message to ensure that the learners will know that their forms have actually been submitted. The next tab is the quizzes tab. And so this feature here enables your form to become a quiz. So you can assign point values to questions and allow for auto marking. Then you want to decide when you want the marks to be released. Do you want it to be released immediately after submission of the form? Then you check that. Or later on after manual review by the teacher. It's also a great way to allow learners to see their missed questions, the correct answers, and the point values. This is a great way to let them know where they are at in that topic, subject, or chapter. And so once you're through with all of these settings, you can go ahead to save. Okay. Now that's great. Next, I'm going to show you how to set a memo on your question, starting with the first question. Okay, to do that, you click on the answer key. Remember, this is a checkbox question that allows you to check more than one answer rather. And so to set a memo, you can go ahead to add answer feedback. Okay, so if my learner gets the answers incorrectly, I can go ahead to say that is not correct. Otherwise, if my learner get the answers correctly, I can say bravo. Also, to the feedback, I can add links to websites, links to, an article or a document in my Google Drive that I want my learners to also maybe improve their knowledge on. And also, I can add a video, a YouTube video. And once I'm done, I click on save. Also, importantly, do not forget to add your point values. Okay, depending on your grading system, it can be anything. For this form, it is 2 points. And once I'm through, I click on done. Next, we're going to look at the short answer type of question. And you can see it has a photo of a cloud here. So to add photos to your form, click on this icon. It takes you into your computer where you can now upload the picture that you want. And then I'm going to show you how to add answers to your short answer type of question. So to do that, you click on the answer key, which I have just done. Now, for your short answer question, sometimes my learners might want to start typing their answers using different spellings and cases. So you have to be sure to add that to your correct answers so that Google Forms will recognize that. And so you can add them in different forms. Okay, and the next one will be in lowercase clouds. So whatever use case, that's spelling or case, my learner will start with, which I know is correct, you might want to add all of those. And then don't forget to add your point value. And once you're through, and your feedback, once you're through, you click on done. Great. Okay, so we're going to look at the next type of question, which is the multiple choice grid question. Essentially, what this question allows you to do is you can add questions as rows and options as columns. And so you can also go ahead to add your answer key and your point value. But this type of question allows a learner only one answer per row. That's how it works. It might be a bit confusing, but I would like you to try it. It's really a great type of question type. Okay, so next we're going to look at the paragraph question. With the paragraph question, when you click on the answer key, you can only add points. And so what this question allows my learner to do is my learner can look at this picture, research, think, and also write their thoughts. This is a really great way to have insight into what they think, and also a great way to look at their grammatical skills, their research skills, and their punctuation skills. All right, now up next, I'm going to show you how to moderate answers, responses that your learners have given by going to the responses tab. And so the first page we're going to see is the summary tab that shows you a graph of the overall performance of your learners. Okay, so this is a great way to get to understand where they are at in that topic or subject as a class. And then up next is the individual tab. So with the individual tab, you can get to see each learner's responses. Okay, you can get to see each learner's responses. So you can skip to the next learner, depending on how many of them have responded to your question. And also, this is a tab where you get to release the scores after you're done moderating their responses. We're going to move on to the question tab. On the question tab, you will be able to select a question, and then you will see the questions grouped by answer. So you can bulk adjust this as you need to. So I'm going to start with the first question, which is the short answer question. I'm going to start with the short answer question, okay, which is this. So here I can get to see my learners' responses. Is a perfect place to check for spellings and also check for their use cases. Okay, remember I said some learners will want to start typing their answers with uppercase or lowercase, so you need to be sure to add that as an option in your correct answers. Up next, we're going to look at the next question, which is the paragraph type of question. And so here, you will need to go through each learner's responses and also customize feedback based on each learner's responses. Another key thing I would want to point out here is the negative marking that form gives. For example, in the checkbox question, okay, in the checkbox question. So wherever a learner gets one of the options correctly, Google Forms will record that as 0. And so this is where you as a teacher would want to manually review these responses. So over here, this learner got 1 correctly. Same here, and then I type 1. Same here, I type 1, and so on and so forth. And once you're through with manually reviewing these questions, you can go ahead to save. So after all these is done, you've moderated the responses, you've manually reviewed it. Next is you release the scores to your learners. Okay, amazing tool. Google Form has been a lifesaver when it comes to marking and grading assessment in bulk. So we're just going to jump over to the presentation. Okay, so while the features of both Google Classroom and Google Forms will help us to streamline our classroom communication and learner feedback, even our grading, we must also remember this quote from educational innovator George Couros. Technology will not replace great teachers, but technology in the hands of great teachers can be transformational. And so I would like you to think about it. With all the tools you have in your hand, I need you to go back there and deliver transformational learning and teaching methods. Here is a link to the resource pack for the session today. This pack includes many links we showcased today, as well as plenty more we think could be useful to you. Please could you take a few moments to open the link that Barbara will leave out in the chat and let us know your thoughts on the session today. Once again, a big thank you for spending the afternoon with myself and Beatrice on the lesson today. A big thank you to Emma, Kay, Joseph, Barbara, Katie, and Karen for all your hard work behind the scenes in order to make the session possible today. Thank you, and we look forward to our next session where we look at the emerging technologies we can use in our classroom. Have a wonderful afternoon, and thank you.